June 11th, 1979, Pacific Palisades, California. Clint Eastwood stands alone in front of John Wayne's coffin. He's been standing there for 7 minutes without moving, without speaking, just staring at the face of the man who taught him everything and then refused to speak to him for 7 years. The funeral home is empty. It's 6 a.m. Clint arrived before anyone else because he knew if he came during the public viewing, he wouldn't be able to do this. He wouldn't be able to say goodbye, not with all those people watching, not with the cameras, not with the weight of what happened between them. John Wayne died 3 days ago. Stomach cancer. He was 72 years old. The last time Clint saw him alive was in 1973, 6 years ago. They passed each other at a restaurant in Beverly Hills. Wayne looked right through him, didn't nod, didn't acknowledge, just walked past like Clint Eastwood didn't exist. And now he's dead. And Clint is standing here trying to figure out if he's here to apologize or to defend himself, trying to figure out if their friendship was worth destroying for a film, trying to figure out if John Wayne was right all along. To understand what happened between these two men, you need to understand what John Wayne represented in 1960s Hollywood. He wasn't just an actor. He was America, the cowboy, the war hero, the man who never questioned, who never wavered, who believed in right and wrong with absolute certainty. Wayne made over 170 films in his career, and in almost every one he played the same character: the righteous man, the protector, the hero who always won because he was always right. Clint Eastwood met John Wayne in 1964. Clint was 34 years old, just starting to make a name for himself in Italy, shooting spaghetti westerns with Sergio Leone. He'd been a struggling actor for years. Small television roles, bit parts in forgettable films. But Leone saw something in him, that quiet intensity, that ability to say everything without saying anything. And suddenly, Clint Eastwood was becoming a star. When he returned to America, one of the first people to reach out was John Wayne. They met at a party at Warner Brothers. Wayne walked up to Clint, shook his hand, and said something Clint never forgot. "You're doing good work, kid. Keep it simple. Keep it honest. Don't let them turn you into something you're not." It was advice, but it was also a warning. Hollywood chews people up, turns them into products. Wayne had survived by never compromising, by always being exactly who he was, and he wanted Clint to do the same. Over the next few years, they developed a friendship. Not close. Wayne didn't do close. But respectful. Wayne would invite Clint to his ranch in Arizona. They'd ride horses, drink whiskey, talk about westerns. Wayne would tell stories about John Ford, Howard Hawks, the old directors, the men who built Hollywood. And Clint would listen, absorb, learn. Wayne saw himself in Clint, the quiet toughness, the economy of movement, the way he could dominate a scene without trying. But there was something else Wayne saw, something that made him uneasy. Clint questioned things. He didn't accept the old rules. He wanted to push boundaries, and Wayne didn't trust that. He'd seen too many young actors try to be clever, try to deconstruct the myths, and destroy themselves in the process. In 1971, Clint directed his first film, Play Misty for Me. Wayne saw it and called him afterwards. Not bad for a first try, but don't get too artsy. Audiences don't want complicated. They want heroes. Clint thanked him but didn't agree. He was starting to realize that he and Wayne had different visions of what a Western should be, what a hero should be. 2 years later, Clint made High Plains Drifter. It was a Western, but not the kind Wayne made. It was dark, ambiguous, violent. The protagonist wasn't a hero. He was a ghost, maybe, a demon possibly. He comes to a town and, instead of saving it, he burns it to the ground. He rapes a woman in the opening scene. He kills without remorse, and the film suggests that maybe the town deserves what's coming to them. Maybe there are no innocent people. Maybe the Old West wasn't noble. Maybe it was hell. Clint was proud of it. He thought he'd made something honest, something that showed the West as it really was, not the myth, the truth. He sent a copy to Wayne before it was released, as a courtesy, as a sign of respect. He wanted Wayne to understand what he was trying to do. 3 days later, a letter arrived, handwritten, 4 pages. Clint opened it expecting notes, maybe some criticism, maybe even praise. What he got was fury. "Clint, I watched your film. I won't call it a Western because it's not. It's a betrayal. You've taken everything we built, everything we fought for, and you've burned it down. You've made the cowboy into a rapist and a murderer. You've made the West into a place of cruelty and nihilism. And for what? To show people how clever you are? To prove you're different from the rest of us? I don't know what Sergio Leone taught you in Italy, but it wasn't how to honor this country or the men who built it. You've made a film that spits on everything the Western stands for, and I can't forgive that. Don't send me your films anymore. Don't call. We're done." Clint read the letter 3 times. Each time he felt something different. First, anger. How dare Wayne judge him? How dare he act like he owns the Western genre? Then confusion. Wayne had always encouraged him, told him to be himself, and now he was being punished for it. Finally, something else. Hurt. Because John Wayne's opinion mattered, and losing his respect felt like losing a father. Clint didn't respond to the letter. What could he say? He believed in High Plains Drifter. He believed he was telling the truth, and if that truth made Wayne uncomfortable, that wasn't Clint's problem. So he stayed silent, and so did Wayne. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, months into years. Hollywood is a small town. Everyone knew Wayne and Eastwood weren't speaking. People took sides. The older generation, Wayne's generation, they agreed with him. Eastwood had gone too far. He disrespected the genre. But the younger filmmakers, they saw Clint as a revolutionary. Someone willing to challenge the old myths. Someone unafraid of complexity. Clint kept making films. The Outlaw Josie Wales, The Gauntlet, Escape from Alcatraz. Each one pushed boundaries. Each one questioned the idea of the simple hero. And with each one, the distance between him and Wayne grew. In 1976, Wayne was diagnosed with stomach cancer. He'd beaten lung cancer in the 60s, but this was different. This was terminal. He kept working anyway. Made The Shootist his final film. It was about an aging gunfighter dying of cancer, art imitating life. The film was released in 1976. Wayne lived 3 more years, but he never made another movie. During those years, people kept telling Clint he should reach out, make peace. Wayne was dying. But Clint couldn't. Not because he was stubborn, but because he didn't know what to say. He couldn't apologize for High Plains Drifter. He wouldn't. That film was honest. It was necessary. And if Wayne couldn't see that, then maybe they were never as close as Clint thought. In May 1979, Clint heard Wayne was in bad shape. Weeks to live, maybe days. He thought about visiting, thought about calling, but every time he picked up the phone, he put it back down. What would he say? "I'm sorry I disappointed you. I'm sorry I told the truth." He couldn't say those things. So he said nothing. June 11th, 1979, 5:15 p.m. John Wayne dies at UCLA Medical Center. His family is with him. Maureen O'Hara is there. Old friends, old co-stars. Clint Eastwood is not there. He's at home in Carmel when he gets the call. He hangs up the phone and sits in silence for an hour. He doesn't cry. He never cries. He just sits, and he thinks about the last time he saw Wayne. That moment in the restaurant. The way Wayne looked through him like he was invisible. The funeral is planned for June 15th. A private service followed by a public memorial. Clint knows he should go, but he also knows his presence will create a spectacle. People will ask questions. Why weren't you speaking? What happened? Was it about the films? He doesn't want to answer those questions, doesn't want to make Wayne's funeral about their feud. So he goes early, 6 a.m., before anyone else arrives. The funeral director lets him in without a word. Everyone in Hollywood knows the story. Everyone knows these 2 men were like father and son until they weren't. Clint walks to the casket. Wayne is wearing a suit. His face is gaunt. The cancer ate him from the inside. But even in death, he looks strong, stubborn, uncompromising. Clint stares at him for a long time, and then he speaks, quietly. So quietly that if anyone else were in the room, they wouldn't hear. "I don't know if you can hear me, Duke. I don't know if there's anything after this. But if there is, and if you're listening, I need you to know something. I never meant to disrespect you. I never meant to betray what you built. I was just trying to tell the truth as I saw it. And maybe that truth was different from yours. Maybe it was uglier. Maybe it was harder, but it was honest. And you taught me that. You told me to be myself, to not let them change me. So I didn't. I made films the way I needed to make them. And if that cost me your friendship, then I guess that's what... Clint stops. His jaw tightens. He's not going to cry. He won't give Wayne that satisfaction, even in death. But here's the thing, Duke. You were wrong. The West wasn't what you made it. It wasn't clean. It wasn't simple. Men weren't just good or bad. They were both. They were complicated. And pretending otherwise doesn't honor the West. It dishonors it. It turns it into a lie. And I won't make lies. Not for you. Not for anyone. He stands there for another minute. Then he reaches into his pocket and pulls out something small. A silver dollar. The same silver dollar Wayne gave him in 1964 at that Warner Brothers party. For luck, Wayne had said, every cowboy needs a lucky coin. Clint had carried it ever since. Through every film, every difficult shoot. Every moment he needed to remember who he was. He places the silver dollar in Wayne's jacket pocket. You gave this to me when I was nobody. You told me to keep it simple, keep it honest. I kept the honest part. I'm sorry I couldn't keep the simple part, but I think you knew I never would. I think that's why you were so angry. Not because I betrayed you, but because I reminded you that the world was changing and you couldn't stop it. Clint steps back from the casket. He doesn't bow his head, doesn't pray. He just looks at John Wayne one last time. And then he walks out. The sun is rising over Pacific Palisades. The city is waking up. And Clint Eastwood is carrying something he didn't have when he walked in. Not peace, not closure, but clarity. John Wayne was a great man, a legend, but he was wrong about Westerns. And being wrong doesn't make him less great. It just makes him human. Over the next decade, Clint keeps making films, each one more complex than the last. White Hunter, Blackheart, Unforgiven, A Perfect World. And in 1992, he makes the film that finally answers John Wayne, Unforgiven. It's a Western about an aging gunfighter who comes out of retirement for one last job. A man haunted by the people he's killed. A man who knows there's no redemption for what he's done, only consequences. The film is dedicated to Sergio and Don, Sergio Leone and Don Siegel, his two great mentors. But everyone in Hollywood knows there's a third ghost in that film, John Wayne, because Unforgiven is everything Wayne hated. It's dark, it's violent, it's ambiguous, the hero is a killer, the sheriff is a sadist, the West is brutal and unforgiving, and there's no clean ending, no triumph, just survival. When Unforgiven wins Best Picture at the 1993 Academy Awards, Clint stands on stage holding his Oscar. His acceptance speech is 20 words. Thank you. This is for everyone who worked on this film. But later, in the press room, a journalist asks him if he thinks John Wayne would have liked Unforgiven. Clint is quiet for a moment. Then he says, "No. He would have hated it, but he would have respected that I made it." That's the truth of what happened between Clint Eastwood and John Wayne. It wasn't a feud. It wasn't pettiness. It was two men who loved the same thing, the Western, but saw it completely differently. Wayne saw the Western as myth, as legend, as a way to show America at its best. Clint saw it as history, as truth, as a way to show America as it actually was. Both men were right, both men were wrong, and neither would compromise. Years later, in 2003, Clint is asked in an interview about his biggest regret. He thinks for a long time. Then he says, "Not making peace with Duke before he died. Not because I was wrong. I wasn't. But because I should have told him that even though we disagreed, I still loved him. I still respected him. That our films could both exist. That there was room for his Westerns and mine. But I was too proud, and he was too stubborn, and now he's gone." John Wayne made 170 films playing heroes. Clint Eastwood made 50 films questioning what a hero is. Both men were giants. Both men were right. And the fact that they couldn't reconcile doesn't diminish either of them. It proves how much they both cared, how deeply they believed, how unwilling they were to pretend. That silver dollar stayed in John Wayne's pocket when they buried him. Clint never asked for it back. He didn't need it anymore. The luck it represented, the approval, the connection to the old Hollywood, he'd outgrown that. He'd become his own man, made his own luck, built his own legacy. And John Wayne, wherever he is, probably hates that. but he also probably respects it. Because respect was never about agreement, it was about conviction. And both men had that in abundance. They just pointed it in different directions. One toward the myth, one toward the truth. And American cinema is better because both men refused to compromise. The Western died with John Wayne, and it was reborn with Clint Eastwood. That's not a betrayal. That's evolution. That's the natural order. The old lion dies, and the young lion takes over. And the fact that it hurt, that it cost them their friendship, that just proves how much it mattered. Some stories don't have happy endings. Some friendships don't survive art. Some men are too strong to bend. And that's okay, because their strength, their refusal to compromise, that's what made them legends. John Wayne never forgave Clint Eastwood, and Clint Eastwood never apologized. And somehow, that's the most honest ending their story could have had. Two men, two visions, one genre. No compromise, just respect, hard-earned and never spoken. The kind of respect that lasts longer than friendship, longer than forgiveness, the respect of one artist for another. Even when they hate what the other creates, even when they can't stand to be in the same room. That's legacy. That's truth. That's what it means to be uncompromising. And if you're someone who believes in something, who makes things, who creates, remember this. You don't need everyone's approval. You don't need to make your heroes happy. You need to be honest. You need to be true to your vision. And if that costs you friendships, costs you mentors, costs you the approval of legends, then that's the price. Pay it, because the alternative is compromise, and compromise is death. Clint Eastwood paid the price, stood in front of John Wayne's casket, and didn't apologize. Walked out of that funeral home alone, made Unforgiven, won the Oscar, changed cinema, and never looked back. That's the devastating truth. Not that they stopped speaking, but that it was worth it. That art mattered more than friendship. That truth mattered more than comfort. That legacy is built not on pleasing your heroes, but on honoring yourself. Subscribe if you believe in that. If you believe some things are worth losing everything for. If you understand that the hardest battles aren't with enemies, but with the people you love who want you to be someone you're not. Drop a comment and tell me, would you have made peace with John Wayne, or would you have stood your ground like Clint? Because that choice defines who you are, and Clint Eastwood chose himself, chose his truth, and became a legend because of it. That's the lesson. Not from Hollywood, from life. Be yourself, even if it costs you everything, especially if it costs you everything, because that's the only way to live, the only way to create, the only way to matter. Clint Eastwood knew that. John Wayne knew that too, even if he hated where it led. Two giants, one genre, no compromise, just truth, spoken in different languages, pointed in different directions, changing everything. That's cinema, that's art, that's life. Now go make something that scares you, something that disappoints your heroes, something honest. That's what Clint would do. That's what he did, and he's never apologized for it. Neither should you.